So, yeah, my name is Justin, and this is the first video that I'm going to be posting on my channel. Um, just to start off, a brief history about me and why I'm making this channel. A little over 4 years ago now, I think, I was getting interested in New Age topics after being an atheist for really long growing up. And I came across this guy called Daryl Anka who channels somebody named Bashar. It's not really important, it's just who I was watching at the time. I also watched a little bit of Abraham Hicks at the time, but my main focus was with this Bashar entity. So after watching that, I came across, I was watching it for a few months. I came across a video where a lady talked about having energetic contact with an extraterrestrial, which I realized would sound crazy to most people out there. But first, this Bashar entity, he says that he's a hybrid alien-human from the future. There's a whole backstory with it. I don't really want to go into it right now, but in the context of what he channels about, it's not like super far-fetched at all. But for like most of mainstream society, it's like really out there. But anyway, so I came across this video where this lady was talking about energetic contact with an extraterrestrial. And I mean, I've always been interested in ideas like space, life out there in the cosmos and things like that. So coming from a very atheistic perspective, like growing up, just being purely atheist, actually being kind of combative to religious or spiritual people at times, because I thought it was, just delusion, and that they were hurting our society with, baseless dogma and things like that. So, yeah, basically after I saw that, I was like, well, if she can experience something like that, why not me? And I honestly just thought it was really cool at the time, so I just kind of got this idea to make an intention to the universe that I would be open to having a similar kind of experience. And very soon after that, things really started to change in my life. Also, at the time, I was smoking a lot of marijuana, to be honest. So I wasn't in a really intellectual frame of mind at that point. It was kind of at the time, I didn't think it was a difficult period, but it clearly wasn't the most healthy way to go about my life, looking back. But yeah, anyway, I made that intention, and very soon after that, like within days and over the next 2 weeks, I started having very strange experiences. I don't want to go into it now, though I do want to mention that it was kind of subtle at first, where it was like these experiences would happen like in the middle of me sleeping. I would like gently wake up and kind of just know certain things or experience or see certain things and then drift back to sleep. So it wasn't anything super sudden or intrusive until the first day that why I'm making this channel, the voices in my head started. So yeah, about 2 weeks after I made that intention, I started having voices in my head. And I'll go into this in more detail if I keep making future videos. But basically, it started off fine, and I was actually really excited and interested. But then this voice kind of morphed into multiple voices in my head, and I don't hear audible voices, like it's all just in my mind. Basically, it's like just hearing a thought in my head that's not my own thought. That's how it is for me. But anyway, these voices started changing and started telling different saying they were different people. And eventually, on that same day, they started saying that they were, basically that I was living in a simulation, and that, um, like, God of this, or the controller of the simulation, was going to torture me and send me to hell, and that I was going to be tortured forever, and all this kind of really out there but really terrifying stuff to me to hear. So, yeah, I mean, I have so much to talk about with this, and like why that stuff happened and why I believed it at the time. But suffice it to say, for now, I was pretty naive spiritually. I didn't know anything about like negative entities or um, anything negative like that. So I just went along with it, and I believed it because I was terrified, because voices in my head were telling me I was going to hell, and this was coupled with very visceral physical sensations as well, um, like warmness in my body and heat at sometimes, like literal very hot sensations along my arms that I would feel, and all kinds of different sensations and things, and um, yeah. So yeah, I was hospitalized a little bit after that, and that basically just started me off on this kind of crazy journey that I've been on for the past 4 years. I've been hospitalized multiple times, um, never really because of anything I didn't choose myself. It was always in the context of these entities, these negative entities, how I see them now, the voices in my mind. Though not completely, but I'll get into that later. But basically, they would tell me things that would scare me, even things that actually seem pretty logical when you look at it certain ways, and would also conjure up all of these crazy but strangely detailed in some ways stories, just concoct all these kinds of crazy like stories that I would buy into at the time, and they would scare me with like visual phenomena I could see. Usually nothing. I've never seen like a full apparition or anything like that, but like shadows moving, or little pinpoints of light or things like that. Um, and combined with all the physical sensations, and also how they can manipulate your mental faculties and suppress them in certain ways, so you become either more paranoid or more easily willing to accept outlandish beliefs, or I mean, there's a number of different ways they can affect people mentally. But yeah, basically, because of what they said and how it would scare me and what they would tell me to do, because of reality or whatever situation they told me I was in at the time, I started to do like really crazy things at times, even to the point of self harming. Um, Never harmed anybody else, but it was always self directed. But it was still really frightening for me and even my parents and my family that I lived with at the time. Like, I had to move back home because I was going through like a lot. So, yeah, that's pretty much how it started for me. And yeah, over time, and especially within the past year or so, I've come across people that have really changed the way I see this and have given me so much like useful information. Not that I accepted it all immediately at the time. I've still like vacillated and gone back and forth with believing like kind of fanciful new age, everything's fine no matter what you do kind of beliefs, to going kind of far out there just to crazy territory like hell is real and things like that. Um, and then with this new kind of more informed and rational way of looking at spirituality, which was primarily from someone named Tom Montalk, is what he goes by. His website is montalk.net, And I mean, there were a lot of other authors that approached that these kinds of topics, like with negative entities and things like that. But Montauk was really the one who just, I mean, the way he lays it out, like, he's done so much research from so many different sources and has compiled it in such a logical way, while also taking into account all of, what we know of spirituality on the planet. And personally, I think his theory, if you want to call it that, or how he sees reality, is really, really spot on. Like, I don't know. I mean, nobody can really have everything correct or be correct about everything, but so far, he's definitely given me the most useful, practical information that's also spiritual based. Because a lot of people, they tend to go either too far into intellectualizing it, or too far into like woo woo spirituality, which is more based in superstition and not really that practical or like helpful, really, like new age stuff. Which, okay, I don't want to get into that right now. Um, but yeah, anyway, so after I came across Montauk and started looking into that more, I mean, first I was like, well, when I first read it, I was like, whoa, this sounds so true. But then putting it into practice was kind of like, I guess it was like daunting in a way. So, and also dealing with these voices in my head slash negative entities, they can affect my mental faculty. So I believe things um, that I otherwise wouldn't, and then they like shift beliefs and push beliefs around in my head. To anybody who hasn't experienced anything like that, I know it sounds crazy, and I know I'm not really right now. I'm not trying to present it in a logical way for like most people out there. This is more for people who have experienced similar stuff. Um, so yeah. Anyway, I found Montauk's material really informative, but also really daunting, and I didn't really want to accept it because how I saw it at the time was in some ways very frightening, and like I really would have to really change my behavior. I wouldn't be able to, really have fun anymore, or at least do things that I enjoy in my life. Um, just like playing video games sometimes, or like, just watching TV shows, Netflix, or even drinking alcohol, and, just normal kind of things most people do in our society for fun. And I, I thought at the time that I wouldn't be able to be be really happy anymore if I did everything that uh, I thought Montauk was saying. And in retrospect, I mean, it was several different things, but first, he's actually very grounded in his approach, and I think I was kind of interpreting it in a way where I took it too far and thought I had to emulate him or emulate people like him who are, already, that's like their life already, and, they're already just living their lives how they see fit, and I thought I had to emulate people like them, basically. And then another thing was that, dealing with the voices on, in the first place, with the negative entities, their whole thing is about trying to get you to believe feel good beliefs that are false, but make you feel good in the moment, or at least for, the short term. But over the long term, they're not really helping your spiritual growth at all. They're just keeping you in a holding pattern and just perpetuating your suffering, and not really leading to any further growth or further love and meaning and enjoyment of your life. And that's pretty much what they're all about, at least one of the major things. So, yeah, basically, months later, I went back to like feel good, like kind of frilly foo-foo beliefs that are just like I can do whatever I want, law of attraction, that kind of thing. Um, don't have to worry about negative beings or anything really, but um, or at least I don't have to worry about it if I just do normal law of attraction stuff and things like that. Um, and that's where I was for many months again. And then I went, and then things weren't working out in my life. Nothing was really changing. I was still having the voices and still experiencing a lot of just unenjoyment, unfulfillment in my life. So that caused me to kind of go back to Montauk's beliefs and what he shares on his website. And basically, through this process of kind of vacillating back and forth, I've slowly gone more to where I am now, which is more from a place that I can be, gentle with myself, and I can still do a lot of the things that bring me joy in my current, bodily habits. So things like, watching some movies or things like that, or having some beers and things like that, or whatever else it might be in your situation, or anybody else's. Basically, like staying generally within the comfort zone of my body and not trying to suddenly make huge drastic changes to suddenly be like a super super good person and try to help everybody out there, because like looking back, not that that's not possible if it's what you truly want to do and it works for you. Like, I mean, that's awesome, of course. But for me, every time I've tried to suddenly change all of my behaviors, especially while dealing with these negative entities who are, trying to influence me and things like that, I've never really been able to just suddenly change all my habits at once and suddenly become this great person that I idealize in my head. But, actually reaching that in the real world is not easy, and maybe even like improbable, if not impossible for me. So I've basically decided to start taking more gentle steps in a more positive direction, and believing that that's a great way to go for most people, I would imagine. That rather than, feeling like I need to um, be part of like the rat race mentality where I need to push, 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 like day after day to help people and be a better person, to heal myself spiritually and energetically and do all this stuff, I've kind of decided that, um, what's the point of life really if you can't enjoy the journey while you're on it, if you're only focusing about just reaching the destination as soon as possible? Like, that just, doesn't really make that much sense to me. Um, so, yeah, I know I've kind of rambled a bit. Should probably be prepared for that in my videos if you keep watching, because I've decided, yeah, actually, now I'll just talk about, so that's pretty much my history and where I am and a little about like my story and where I'm coming from. So now I'll just quickly talk about like um, just where I see this channel going forward. So first of all, I've tried to either make websites or blogs or YouTube channels talking about this topic and voices and things like the matrix control system uh, multiple times before, but I never really seemed to. I never actually like completed it completely and got it to a state where it was up and live and people were really looking at it for any significant amount of time. And I think part of that is just my perfectionism and how I feel like I need to put way too much effort into the stuff I'm putting out there, whether in videos or in the stuff I'm writing, to the point where it just makes the whole process arduous and not even enjoyable for me. So I've decided that I'm going to be more like freeform with this and kind of just treat it as a vlog for now and just see where that goes. Especially a vlog where I'm ideally not really doing any like editing, or at least not much editing, and not really worrying about like my background or having like a fancy camera or anything. Pretty much just opening my laptop, recording a video, and just like saying what's on my mind. That kind of approach. So something like really informal is what I'm heading for right now. So yeah, this is my first video. Once again, I'm Justin. I hear voices in my head, and I recommend checking out montalk.net if you're interested in really the meat and potatoes of it. I don't really say that, but that just came to mind. So, bye.